Hi students, I'm sure that you are all preparing hard for your exams now, which are very close, a month or so. So now during this time, the best thing to do that whatever you have learned since a year or so, you have to revise them thoroughly. More you revise, the better you do in the exams. Always remember this. So with that, I'm starting the revision of the life processes in biology, that is the CBSE class 10. The life processes, you all know, are essential for maintaining the systems of living beings. So these systems are what? The systems are nutrition, respiration, transportation or circulatory system, and the excretory system. So nutrition, always remember whenever there's a talk about nutrition or question related to nutrition, it can be from these points that nutrition are of two types: autotropic and heterotropic. Autotrophs are the plants which are making their food on their own by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the equation is 6CO2 plus 6H2O. From the carbon dioxide and water only food is prepared. Food is C6H12O6 in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, and oxygen is released plus O2. So the equation is 6CO2 plus 6H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is your C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So this is the equation of photosynthesis. So two phases are involved there. One is light phase, one is dark phase. In the light phase, the chlorophyll is absorbing the light energy, and the light energy is converted into chemical energy, and the water is broken down into hydrogen and the molecular oxygen. Hydrogen is combining into a reducing agent with a reducing agent, that is NADP, and forming NADPH, which is later on releasing hydrogen. So oxygen and hydrogen are separated in the light phase, and in the dark phase CO2 is reduced to carbohydrate, and these free oxygen and hydrogen all are combining to form carbohydrate. The energy obtained in the light phase is used here. So this much you have to remember during photosynthesis, in the process of photosynthesis. The chlorophyll, where is the chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is in the chloroplast, which are the special tissues on the leaves. So there are thylakoids in the chloroplast which contain chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is very important, which is absorbing the light and which is very, very essential for photosynthesis, and is a green pigment, so giving the color of green. So about chlorophyll you have remembered, so it will help you in your revision. And then photosynthesis, you have to remember these points. Then you coming to the other mode, that is the heterotropic organisms. They are getting the prepared organic food material, organic compounds. But what they have to do, they have to break them down into smaller parts so that they can be absorbed in the blood. So this is the heterotropic mode. In autotropic mode, what was happening? The organic food material was being prepared by the process of photosynthesis in plants and in some green bacteria, which are containing chlorophyll. But in heterotropic mode, most of the animals and human, what they are doing, they are breaking down the organic complex compounds into simpler parts so that they can be absorbed easily in the blood. So in the heterotroph modes, what are the modes? Different modes: parasite, dependent on the on other living beings like bacteria, fungi, your Cuscuta, the amarbale plants, etc., and the saprophyte, which dependent on the dead plants and animals like fungus, and then your symbiotic For example, lichen, algae and fungi. Algae is giving food, fungi is giving shelter. So this is the symbiosis taking place, and then the holozoic kind of or mode of nutrition where the food is ingested, then it is digested, then it is absorbed, and the undigested food is then expelled out, which is egestion. So ingestion, digestion, absorption and egestion are the three steps in holozoic mode of nutrition, and in this mode you have to study about amoeba, nutrition in amoeba. That is in your syllabus, in your book also. So you have to remember those steps where amoeba is extending its finger-like structure, that is pseudopodia, to surround the food or the prey and then engulf it and then digest it in the food vacuole and then absorb it on the body surface, and then the undigested food is expelled out from any part of the body surface, sometimes by a contractile vacuole also. So this is what is happening in the nutrition of amoeba, that you have to write. Stepwise, you have to identify the figure. If the figure is there, you have to also remember the leveling, and you have to write the leveling also if asked. So this is very important question in nutrition, students. And then when we come to the nutrition of human being, so what is happening here? Here the digestive organs are there. Since we are human beings are having very complicated systems, so we are eating a variety of food, so they have to be digested and absorbed. So there are specific organs meant for this, and the digestion starts from the mouth, where teeth is there for churning, biting, churning, grinding, and then salivary glands are there which are secreting saliva, and they are mixing with the food and making it a bolus, and then mastication is there, and the food is turned into a bolus, and then it travels to the stomach through the food pipe, which is called esophagus, that we have to remember. And the movement of the food is guided by a kind of movement which is called peristalsis. The movement is of the muscles of the walls of the alimentary tract, and this is the movement which is helping the food to come down to stomach. And when the bolus has come to the stomach is having what? The stomach is having HCl, it is having mucus on the walls, and it is having the gastric juice, which is containing what? It is containing the enzyme pepsin. So what is happening in the stomach? First of all, HCl is making the medium acidic, so that the pepsin can be active, can be effective to convert protein into smaller parts, into peptides and peptones. And number two, HCl also kills the bacteria or pathogen which has entered into the stomach along with the food. And the mucus present on the wall prevents the erosion caused by the HCl, impact of HCl. So these are the things which are taking place in the stomach. The initial digestion of protein has started taking place. The initial digestion of starch has also started in the mouth, because the saliva is having a enzyme which is called amylase. So amylase has broken down starch initially into maltose. So these undigested starch, fats, proteins, all are there still in the stomach partially. So this has taken place in the stomach, and now this bolus in the stomach is called the chyme, which is acidic because HCl is there. Now the chyme is entering the small intestine through a sphincter which is called the pyloric valve, and now in the intestine what other things are coming from the liver? Bile is coming from the pancreas, pancreatic juice is coming, and bile which is coming from the liver is emulsifying the fat molecules into smaller parts and also making the chyme alkaline, because the bile is containing sodium bicarbonate. So the alkaline chyme, what it is doing, it is enabling the other enzymes to work on it, to be effective, because the pancreatic juice enzymes and the intestinal enzymes, the intestinal juice enzymes are effective only if the medium is alkaline. So, uh, bile has made the chyme alkaline, and now pancreatic juice enzymes are also acting on this chyme. They are digesting protein into peptides, and they are breaking down proteins into peptides and peptones. They are also breaking down fats into glycerol and fatty acids, and they are also breaking down maltose or other the undigested starch into maltose. So this conversion of maltose is continuing uh, by the enzymes of pancreatic juice, which are trypsin, amylase, and lipase. And now the final digestion will also take place in the later part of the small intestine, and the intestinal juice secretes the enzymes again, and these enzymes are finally converting the maltose into simple sugar, that is glucose. The fatty acids and glycerol will be further formed from the undigested food, which will undigested fat which are left. So fats are finally converted into fatty acids and glycerol, and the peptides and peptones are finally converted into amino acids. So digestion is completed in small intestine, that you have to remember, students. So this is about the digestion or digestive system in human. So this you have to remember, and then we come to the respiratory system. The respiratory system is actually in two parts, happening in two parts. What is cellular respiration and another is breathing. So cellular respiration is same in plants as well as in animals, and it is the breakdown of glucose into carbon dioxide and water and releasing immense energy, that is 38 ATP. So C6H12O6 plus O2 will give what? Will give 6O2 plus 6O2 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O and 38 ATP. So what is the equation? The equation is C6H12O6 is being broken down by the presence of oxygen into 6CO2 plus 6H2O and 38 ATP. Okay, so this is the equation of the aerobic respiration, which is taking place in every cell, and by the energy which is released, the other processes in the cell are taking place. So this is the most essential process, and it is the cellular respiration, aerobic respiration in the presence of oxygen. So this is same in plants as well as in animal cells, but the difference is in anaerobic respiration, where oxygen is lacking or oxygen is absent. Then also the breakdown will be there of the glucose, but the energy produced will be very low. It will be 2 ATP only, and it will be an incomplete process, incomplete reaction. And in plants, the other substance which will be produced in anaerobic respiration is alcohol or ethanol. So yeast is an example which respires only anaerobically and is used in the entire beverage industry to prepare alcohol. And then in animals, by anaerobic respiration, what is produced? Lactic acid is produced. This is the reason why after vigorous exercises or physical activities, you sometimes have pains or cramps in the legs. This is because lactic acid has been produced by anaerobic respiration of that particular part, because sufficient oxygen is not available there to meet the energy demands, because suddenly the supply of blood cannot be increased. So anaerobic respiration also starts taking place for some time, and lactic acid is produced which accumulates and causes the pain. After some time, after taking rest, this normal condition can be restored. So this is the question comes sometimes, why we get cramps after vigorous exercises in our legs. So children, you have to remember this. Then your in cellular respiration, we are talking the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So this is almost same in plants and animals, as I said. And when we come to the higher animals and also in human, the breathing is there because see, for aerobic respiration, oxygen is required, which is the most common and most important process of respiration. So, in plants and in smaller animals, what is happening? Oxygen is diffusing from the atmosphere to the cells inside the organism. But in higher animals and in human, the requirement is so large that oxygen cannot diffused oxygen cannot suffice the requirement, cannot be sufficient. So there has to be different respiratory organs, and the surface area has to be large for absorbing maximum oxygen by diffusion. So for this to happen, there is a specific system in human which is called the respiratory system, and there are separate organs for this system, which are the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, and the lungs. So what is happening here? It is taking place in two steps: inhalation and exhalation, inspiration and expiration. So in inhalation, we are taking air which is rich in oxygen, and we are exhaling air which is rich in carbon dioxide. So what actually is happening? Through the nasal cavity, air is entering because is there, hair is there, which is trapping the dust and other pathogens to enter inside, and then the pharynx is there, which is the common passage of the windpipe and the fruit pipe. So the trachea, which is carrying the air that we are taking, inhaling, the trachea is having C-shaped rings, cartilage rings, which is preventing the trachea from collapsing when it is empty. So these are C-shaped or half rings, cartilage rings. Then this trachea is dividing into bronchus. There are bronchi, and this bronchus in each lung. There are two lungs in the center of the chest and in human, and in these two lungs the bronchi are there, and these bronchi are branching into bronchioles, smaller branches, and the bronchioles are forming the alveoli, the air sacs. The air sacs are so small, the total surface area is very large. So the oxygen which is entering through the air can be absorbed sufficiently in the blood because capillaries are also there in the lungs. So this gaseous exchange is taking place. The oxygen from the alveoli is diffusing into the lungs, into the blood, and the CO2 from the blood is diffusing into the alveoli that we are exhaling out. So when we inhale, the air is rich in oxygen, so it is diffusing into the blood. Oxygen is diffusing into the blood from the alveoli, and CO2 from the blood is diffusing out in the alveoli. So this the gaseous exchange is taking place in the lungs. So during inhalation, what is happening? The lungs are resting on the diaphragm. So diaphragm is usually cone shaped, dome shaped, and when we are inhaling, the diaphragm is becoming flat. So the chest cavity is increasing, the volume of the inside the chest cavity is increasing, the pressure is going down, and the rib muscles, the external intercostal muscles of the ribs are also helping this process. So what is happening? The air is easily drawn in because pressure is low, volume is more, the chest cavity has increased, and during exhalation, what is happening? The reverse is happening. The when we are exhaling, so what is happening? The this thing is the diaphragm is again becoming dome shaped, and what is happening? The chest cavity is decreasing. The intercostal muscles of the ribs, the external intercostal muscle is now relaxing. So the chest cavity is decreasing and the pressure is also increasing. When the volume decreases, pressure increases. So air is easily drawn out from the system. So this is expiration. So this is taking place in inspiration as well as expiration in the process of breathing. Student, this you have to remember. What are the changes taking place? So I will close this topic here, and I will describe the other processes, revise the other processes in my next video, and also I will deal with some questions of these live processes. Okay, student, in the next video, because I don't want to make it too long. Okay, then thank you very much. All the best.